Okay, so good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Global Warehousing and Transportation Excellence Summit, Edition 5, virtual edition, and it's free for everyone. So thank you very much for joining the session today across the globe. I would like to give a quick introduction on the show. Then I will do the introduction for our guest speaker to start the session today. So Global Warehousing and Transportation Summit. So it evolved from Global Supply Chain Excellence Summit. So we had four sessions earlier on global supply chain excellence. So this time, what we are doing is we are trying to do more focus on particular domain of supply chain. So warehousing and transportation. Next week, on 6th December, we have manufacturing excellence. Likewise, we keep doing it so that the audience could be more focused. So those who need help, especially mid-size, small, or even larger organizations who are transforming their business operations, they can get the benefit of it. That's the whole idea. And why we do is we would like to create a platform so that not everybody in warehousing and logistics will be able to go to all face-to-face sessions, on-prem sessions, and attend and listen to the speakers. And it's not easy to go to a virtual summit and attend it, spend time, talk to the people. It's not easy. So that's the reason we stick to virtual editions where we bring experts across the globe who are like-minded people who want to share knowledge, and we would like to connect to industry companies so that if they have any clarifications required, any help required, and they can also listen to the best practices. So that's the whole idea, and it is very. We are doing it very successful way. And this session also, we have around 700 registrations for this topic. You can imagine that. Okay. So I take this as an opportunity to start the session. So welcome on board everyone across the globe. So thank you very much, and good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to all. Okay, so I would like to start the session with first of all, my introduction is I'm Sheikh Abdul Khader, CEO of Data Labs India. I am solution architect for FLUSI, Fruition of Supply Chain Excellence Solutions, and also Flu Strategy, which is a business growth solution. We talk about in the coming presentations more about it. Okay, so I would like to introduce Mr. Sunil Bhardwaj. So thank you, Mr. Sunil, for joining the session today. Welcome to Global Warehousing and Transportation Summit. So let me give a quick round of introduction. Sunil ji is a senior supply chain executive with over 22 plus years of global experience driving end-to-end supply chain strategy, transformation, and operational excellence. He is expert in sales and operations planning, logistics optimizations, ERP systems, and continuous improvement. He's a speaker, writer, and mentor, contributing to leading forums, journals, and academic institutions. So, welcome, Sunilji, and we would be pleased to hear you. This is a first session. You can take few minutes to introduce yourself, okay? Because there will be a couple of minutes we spend time to give the time to people to join, and then you can. I would like to hear about your topic. The topic is key trends and developments in logistics. I think that's the best session we can hear to start the session. Okay, to start the summit. So thank you, Sunilji. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Abdul, and thank you, Praveen, for getting in touch with me. And I have been following your previous posts and sessions that you have been doing. So very happy to be starting proceedings on a Saturday on such a vast, deep topic, which is pretty complex. But I'll try to contextualize it and try to touch upon a few areas over the next 40-45 minutes. And I will also like to leave some time for the audience, the extremely knowledgeable, experienced audience, to ask any questions or queries, which I'm sure they can post on the chat window or route it through either you or through Praveen. I'll be very happy to take any questions and try my best to respond. And very happy to be here, as I told you, on a Saturday morning. I think there's no better way to start than by discussing a topic that's so close to my heart and that I'm so passionate about. And I believe we have audiences not only from India, but you're targeting audiences from the Middle East, Africa as well, and other countries. So, like Abdul just said, yeah, very good morning, good afternoon, good evening to wherever you are, and thank you for joining in such large numbers. And I think you have already given a wonderful introduction about me. So there's nothing much for me to add except the fact that I keep posting logistics news and articles every month. And in fact, I've started doing it every fortnight now. I do it on LinkedIn for a wider audience to engage in more meaningful discussions. Point number one. Point number two, I've been a passionate professional for over 2 decades. I've worked in India, I've worked overseas. And presently, I'm an independent consultant and a managing partner with Impact is a consulting. And we do all sorts of consulting work and support related to people, process, and systems to do with all aspects of logistics and supply chain. Okay. So right from product design to plan, source, make, deliver, return, enable. Okay. The entire spectrum of functions and activities within logistics and supply chain is where we would like to help our clients. And we are also thickly into learning development, training, mentoring, coaching, etc. That's something that I'm very passionate about. I visit a lot of business schools in India. I've spoken overseas. I've been a part of so many conferences in India and overseas as well, as a keynote speaker and as a panelist and a panel moderator. So that pretty much tells you my passion for this subject. And I'm once again extremely grateful to Abdulji for having invited me. Okay, although it was a very short notice that I got, but I'm very happy to be here and to start proceedings today. And as I speak, I also went through the wonderful note that the team had put together, and I could see that there are a lot of interesting discussion themes around warehouse and transportation excellence. Okay, related to sustainability, visibility, collaboration. Okay, green logistics, risk management, role of AI, role of IoT. So I think it's an ocean actually. Okay, one can keep discussing through the day. Okay, but since I have time constraints, I'll just try and summarize and focus on only certain areas. And after I finish, I think we have a stellar lineup of speakers following me. So just to set the tone, I want to tell you that following me would be Sachin Bajaj, who would be talking on supply chain strategy and best practices. Okay. After Sachin, we have Shankaran, who will be speaking on role of warehousing in driving business excellence, followed by Mr. Alexander Borg, who will be speaking on managing logistics and disruptions in a very volatile environment. Okay, because we live in a VUCA world, which is very volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. I think that's going to become the rule going forward. We have to live with it and do the best that we can as logisticians. Okay, so I think after Alexander, we will have Suresh, who will be speaking on AI-driven logistics and focus more on the predictive, autonomous, and self-optimizing part of supply chains and logistics systems. After him, we have Mr. Krishnan CN, who will speak on railway logistics. A very, very important and relevant topic, I thought, for the day, because I think pre-independence, the contribution of railway was the highest. Okay, now it is all road freight. Okay, the contribution of rail has come down, but I'm sure he will throw a lot of light and educate us on that. After that, we have Mr. Rajesh, who will be speaking on excellence in 3PL and contract logistics. And we have Miss Anita, who will be speaking on warehousing and transportation digitization. So hopefully on TMS and WMS, etc. Okay. And then we will have Bhanu Prakash, who will speak about freight forwarding, end-to-end freight forwarding. So you can just see the spectrum of topics, okay, the gamut of topics and the excellent lineup of speakers that we have after me. And finally, we have Mr. Abdul, who will close the proceedings with focus on balance scorecard for 3PL companies. Right, sir? Correct? So that is pretty much the flow. So I just wanted to give you a flow of what's coming up, and which is why I thought instead of deep diving on a specific subject or an area, I will try to keep it like the horizontal part of the letter T, where I will focus more on the breadth rather, okay, and the umbrella of issues that have been surfacing in this area. And the vertical part is the depth actually, okay, where you specialize in a particular area, which will follow in the subsequent sessions, okay, in line with the different topics listed under the summit today. So welcome once again to the Global Warehousing and Transportation Excellence Summit, Edition 5. Very happy to be here again. And before I start, I just wanted to focus on three V's actually of logistics and supply chain, which is visibility, variability, and velocity. Now, across my talks, both in India and overseas, and whenever I visit postgraduate schools, etc., also, I always start with this because we should understand that any inherent logistics and supply chain system as we speak. Okay, so be it warehouse operations, transportation, packaging, value addition, reverse logistics, etc., will always have an inherent variability. Okay, which we can control. It cannot become zero. Okay, that is a wrong notion that people have. Oh, I have zero variability. Okay, my order accuracy is 100%. My forecast accuracy is 100%. No, we can't reach that level. Okay, we can try. We can try, but we can't reach that level. That is point number one. Point number two is in the subject that I'll be focusing on today, which is specific to warehousing and transportation. There is an increasing focus on velocity and throughput. Everybody wants speed today. Okay, gone are the days when 2.5 decades ago I could wait for a parcel to reach me after 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. I thought that was fast. Okay, no, today 10 minutes is fast. Okay, that's the new equation of customer service and speed. Okay, we live in the world of quick commerce, right, where we want everything within 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, etc. Okay, so that's about velocity, throughput, and speed, which again becomes very important. But one has to again balance it with other competing priorities. Okay, how is the team? What is their psychology? What is the impact on lot of to and fro transportation movements? What is the impact on sustainability, on the type of fuel that we use? What is the impact on the two-wheeler rider who's actually wading to the traffic in different cities to come to your doorstep? Okay, so that's a discussion that can go on, but yeah, that is something for the very erudite and knowledgeable audience here and experienced audience to ponder. Okay, the third is visibility. Now, increasingly post COVID, I think the supply chains and logistics teams that survived focused more on bringing about system-wide visibility and transparency. Okay, because they knew what was happening to every shipment that came in. Okay, every product that was transformed, manufactured, and everything that moved out of their facilities till the end consumer. Okay, which is where risk and resiliency gained a lot of prominence. Okay, and people started using metrics like time to survive, okay, time to recover in terms of days, weeks, months. Okay, impact of operational decisions on financial outcomes. Okay, how is it going to hit my top line, my bottom line, my cost, etc. Okay, and in logistics and supply chain, the cost versus service conundrum is always going to exist. Okay, I think that is what we have been grappling with for all these decades. And talking about the subject, I think Mr. Johannes Varmorel, who is the founder of a company called Locard. It's a quantitative supply chain company based in France. I think he just wrote a textbook recently, and his definition of supply chain is mastery of optionality when we manage the physical flow of goods from upstream to downstream. He's talking about mastery of optionality. Okay, that means we have multiple options. How can we master and utilize the best available option to us? Okay, so whether it is taking decisions around warehousing or around transportation, around forward movement, around reverse movement. Okay, whether we talk about upstream, midstream, downstream. Okay, or first mile, mid mile, and last mile. Every time we are faced with a plethora of options. Now, how do we master optionality and make sure we take the most optimal decision, given that everything around us today is complex? It is non-linear. Okay, most of the decision variables don't follow normal curves anymore. Okay, they follow different distributions. Okay, data has exploded. Okay, there is a role of AI, etc. around us. So, in this light, how are we going to make sense of all this chaos and take suitable decisions? So, I guess that those words, in the fundamental definition of logistics and supply chain, mastery of optionality. Okay, whenever we manage the flow of physical goods, because warehousing transportation deals more with the physical flow of goods, okay, from upstream to downstream. Now, in that light, I want to also touch upon few more macro areas before I will take my talk forward and discussion forward. I think we all know that warehousing and logistics sector and the industry at large has been very severely impacted by geopolitics. And that's something even a country like India cannot ignore. And I'm sure as exporters, importers, as shippers, whenever you have worked with different 3PLs, 4PLs, service providers, etc., okay, you would have faced a lot of hassles with regard to ingoing, incoming, and outgoing movement of materials. Okay, because of tariff policies, because of tariff barriers, because of so many other input costs, okay, that a material has to actually account for. And that has pretty much confused everyone, because the policies and announcements globally are so dynamic that we as shippers sometimes wonder, no, when is all this going to stop? Okay, spot rates will suddenly go up, your contract rates will fluctuate. Okay, suddenly you will have some congestion along the ocean route. Okay, the air market will open up all of a sudden. Okay, and then it's very very uncertain and unpredictable. Okay, which is why I think now, needless to say, I think all conversations today and every conference that I've been to, I think there is enough discussion and debate around the role of intelligent solution systems and visibility platforms, which will actually help us to wade through all these complexities, okay, that we face. That is one. Second is trade shocks. Okay, now whether it is India, China, India's equation with the US, or US, China, or our other trading partners in various continents. Okay, this is also going to pose a lot of challenge for supply chain and logistics practitioners across different industries. Okay, right. So that is something that we need to be aware of. We need to be very clear about all policy announcements, budgetary announcements, and all the decisions that are taking place. Okay, the other big domestic announcement is in terms of the GST rates. So how are rationalization of GST rates actually going to impact trade? What is going to be the impact on our overall warehousing, storage, and transportation cost? Okay, how are we going to service our customers, etc. So we need to be very cognizant and aware of all these developments with regard to the GST announcements as well. Okay, and demand, of course, is a big driver. And the good news is that I was reading this morning, India has turned in a GDP growth of 8.2% in quarter two, which is much higher than what I expected. Okay, and only yesterday IMF also said that we are very skeptical about the calculations and the lag data, so they gave us a C grade or something. So I guess we'll have to look at both sides of the coin and possibly take this with a pinch of salt, maybe dig deeper and analyze whether we're actually growing at 8.2% or is it lower, etc. I mean, I leave it to the audience to think and read more and debate on that. Secondly, I would also like to talk to you more about the role of climate and weather patterns. Okay, external disasters, local disasters, climatic challenges, that have grappled and that supply chain and logistics professionals grapple with. Now, this is another area that we need to be aware of. Okay, can our forecasting models now incorporate more variables? Okay, can we see the impact of price fluctuations, of macroeconomic activities, of trade wars, of geopolitics, of external weather and climate shocks, etc.? Is that going to have some impact on my supply line, okay, on my production, on my distribution, etc.? So I guess today increasingly there is a lot of focus on supply chain and logistics risk and resiliency management. That is another trend that I have seen over the last few years. And I also taught this course at one of the leading business schools in India. Okay, it was a full credit course, so that only tells you the importance of supply chain and logistics risk and resiliency management. Okay, we need to understand if things go wrong, what is the fallback option? How do we measure and monitor risk? Okay, what are our response options? Do we have a risk register? Are we seeing a heat map? Can we do a geospatial mapping of all our physical supply and distribution sites? If something is going to go wrong, say in China or Russia or Europe or South Africa, is my supply of the future going to get affected? And therefore, what is going to be the impact on downstream logistics operations? I think today there are enough tools, systems, intelligence, and softwares which are available. Okay, companies of all sizes, be they startups or established companies or mid-sized companies, they have enough tools and intelligence to provide you so that you can take adequate decisions. Okay, that is number one. Number two, we also need to understand that we need to use these tools very carefully, properly, and sensibly. Okay, so that we don't end up using the wrong tool for the wrong application. Now that is another big debate. How do we choose the right partner? How do we onboard the right person? Okay, have they understood our pain points? Do they understand our problem statement? And therefore we need to work around it. But needless to say, I think the jury is out on this. I think without any form of intelligence tool or technology, nothing is going to really work. Okay, right? So I think all of you in some way would have invested in some tool, software, some sort of intelligence. Okay, some sort of, I would say, some sort of a control tower. I think that is also part of the current scheme of things. That is number two. The third is, what is going to be the impact of ESG and sustainability initiatives in warehousing? Now, whether it is sustainable fuel, or the use of sustainable aviation turbine fuel, or the use of the different fuels that will go into actually powering all our ships along the sea or along the air, or or the use of electric vehicles on road. Okay, now all these things we need to be very cognizant of and keep in mind that this will have a profound impact on the way we serve our customers, the total cost of operations. Okay, and the cost versus service equation is always going to be like a pendulum. Okay, they're like counterbalancing forces. Okay, I don't have any magic wand or any correct answer. All I'm trying to tell you is that given the macroeconomic and global scenario, we need to incorporate all the recent trends, developments. So whether it is geopolitics, trade wars, macroeconomics, okay, or the fact that we live in a world where everyone's talking about generative AI, use of agentic AI, etc. Okay, and there are increasing investments that are happening in this space. I think we need to just be aware of how these tools and applications work, and whether there is a strong business case for me as a logistician, or as a warehousing head, a transportation head, or a reverse logistics head. Okay. Now, when I studied logistics and supply chain several years ago, it was all about only forward flow. Okay. Now, increasingly with the advent of q-commerce and quick commerce, there is a lot of focus on the materials that are returned to the origin or returned to source, the reverse flows of materials. Okay, that itself has now metamorphosed into an art and science. And in many colleges and many seminars, I see that considerable amount of time is given to only discussing reverse flow of material. Okay, reverse logistics, reverse supply chain. What are the KPIs? How do you design a facility? How do you design the processes? Okay, how do you develop your reverse organization structure and team? How do you have the right people at the right place? And as consumers, do I know what is happening after the end of use of a product? And how do I link the use of that product to the product life cycle? Can I go to a center and keep the product there with the team? What do they do after that? Okay, do they repack? Do they refurbish? Do they remanufacture? Do they reuse, etc., etc.? So increasingly there is a lot of literature and a lot of discussion and debate around reverse logistics, so that we try to enhance the life cycle of a product. And likewise, you can apply the same principles to warehousing also. So when I say reverse logistics, it is applicable to warehousing, it is applicable to transportation, because you have reverse transportation flows. Okay. Then I also spoke about sustainability and ESG with regard to logistics and supply chain, because increasingly ESG is not only left to finance. Okay. Today there are a lot of ESG related trade finance options available. Okay. There are a lot of factoring tools available. Okay. And there are a lot of green financing options available to logisticians, which can be used, so that we work towards that journey of reducing scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 emissions. Okay, we move more towards sustainable reusable packaging, reusable pallets. We use vehicles that emit less CO2. Okay, we are part of warehouses and fulfillment centers and distribution centers that use smart lighting, solar panels. Okay, smart infrastructure. Okay, smart energy meters, etc. So everywhere there is a compounded effort today for companies which have targets. And increasingly today, if you read the annual report of any listed company, be it an Indian company or a global company, or any 3PL, 4PL player, or any logistics service provider, you will see that their reporting structure has a separate section on sustainability, circular and green practices. Okay, what they have done, what is their baseline, what initiatives they have taken, what are their CO2 emission levels. Okay, what sort of targets they need to fix. Now all these things are very clearly documented, discussed in boardrooms, etc. And therefore today when I speak, okay, to the line of CXOs, today we have the addition of two more positions. We have the chief risk officer and we have the chief sustainability officer. Now these are two positions that have grown in the last 4 to 5 years, and they are all part of boardrooms. And some of them are drawn from logistics, supply chain, and materials management field in area. Okay, they become chief risk officers and chief sustainability officers, and they have a full-time role to play. Okay, in terms of educating, training, building a culture, and building that awareness of how risk and sustainability have a role to play within warehousing and transportation. So that becomes very important. Okay, the other area that I want to touch upon is the role of increasing investments in the transportation and warehousing space, and the fact that now this industry has gained infrastructure status, and increasingly there is a lot of investment in grade A warehousing. Okay, in addition to, of course, grade B and grade C. And I believe the overall demand in the next 3 to 4 years is going to shoot up to 1 billion square feet of warehouse space. And as I speak, the total warehouse capacity when we talk about grade A warehousing is around 300 to 330 million square feet, which is expected to almost double to more than 500 to 550 million square feet in the next 4 to 5 years. Okay, so increasingly companies are treating warehouse infrastructure as a very strategic asset. So whether you are part of a dark warehouse, or a retail store, or a back-end store, or a warehouse, or a distribution center, or a fulfillment center, irrespective of which sector you come from, I think the whole focus on treating the warehousing function as a strategic lever for business growth is gaining prominence now. Okay, gone are the days when people used to just call them go downs, and they used to ask me after COVID, Sunil, what do you do for a living? Do you just load items and send them from point A to point B? I said no, it's a science. It is much more complex. Okay, there are tools, processes, and systems around it. Okay, you have things like warehouse management systems, warehouse control systems, you have TMSs, etc. Okay, which integrate very well with company systems and ERPs through middleware. I said it's a very complex, evolving and interesting science and art. Okay, so it is not about just going to a go down, and I don't like the use of the word go down. Of course, the bare minimum that we can all say is, yeah, I'm part of a warehouse, I'm part of a distribution center, a fulfillment center, okay, or a dark warehouse. Now that we are in the quick commerce area, right? So the expansion of grade A warehousing is increasing, and the government has come out with a lot of enabling schemes during the budget, which is encouraging investments in this space. Okay, a lot of private and public sector lending has happened in this particular space. Now, in this light, I also want to tell you that we must also keep keep an eye on the PM Gati Shakti and the National Logistics Policy that was announced 3 years back in September 2022, and all the enabling areas around it. Okay, so today there are a lot of states, districts, and cities which have their own logistics policies, infrastructure. Okay, and there are a lot of rules and guidelines around it, and they have their own specific ratings also. Okay, and we also have what is called as a ULIP. Okay, the Unified Logistics Interface Portal that has come up in the last few years. Okay, which has multiple levels. It's a very open-ended, user-friendly system. Okay, where a lot of developers can create their own applications. Okay, and embed it over all the existing layers. Okay, and they can be used by different players. Okay, so whether you're an exporter, an importer, you're a producer, manufacturer, a shipper, a 3PL, a consigner, a consignee, depending on which part of the spectrum you are across the chain, you can make use of all the excellent tools, okay, that are publicly available, that are being developed by ULIP. And of course, the idea of the logistics policy was also to make India a very, very competitive exporter and a competitive manufacturing hub, so that we don't end up spending time on project leakages, scope creep, project waste. The idea is to bring in all the ministries together, okay, and have a lot of detailed discussions so that we speed up project execution and focus more on execution excellence. Okay, and we're able to make sure that infrastructure is put up and comes up very quickly, okay, without all these bureaucratic delays, etc., and the additional paperwork. I'm sure it still exists. I'm not saying it's all gone away, but now we are, we live in the era of, electronic bills of lading, okay, electronic airway bills. Okay, most documents are digitized these days. Okay, and there are a lot of portals that you can see on so many government websites, etc., right? So my sense is that we are moving towards a digital uh, arena. Okay, in the light of all these policy announcements, PM Gati Shakti, Sagar Mala, Bharat Mala, okay, basically to bring and enhance port infrastructure to connect all the different ports and the waterways and the seaports, okay, to make them more competitive, okay, to focus more on decongesting our districts and cities and lanes and other areas, where road transportation gets delayed, etc. Okay, so the focus of all these projects is to speed up project management, bring about execution excellence, okay, and focus more on value added outcomes. It is not about the money that you invest, but how quickly are you able to put it to good use? What is the return on equity? What is the return on investments of all these projects and investments? I think the focus is more now towards making sure that even as practitioners, we also understand that, because we are all into core operations. Okay, now warehousing, logistics, transportation by itself are hardcore physical roles, operational roles, physical functions. But the idea is also to understand what do these announcements, policies, okay, PLIs, government schemes, and all the other macro pictures that I gave you, how do they correlate to my particular area of work, and what is the correlation with my specific industry, my competitor, my sector, my function, my business? I think that correlation has to be established, and increasingly it is happening today, because we can't live in a world where we say no, we are unaffected by an announcement, we are unaffected by a trade war, we are unaffected by geopolitics, we are unaffected by currency fluctuations, or we are affected by what the Houthis do, on the Suez Canal and the Red Sea, etc. I think all these will have ramifications for shippers and various other stakeholders. Now, coming to the ecosystem players, I think we have the government, we have private sector players. Okay, we have freight forwarders, we have customs brokers, 3PL, 4PL, 5PL players. Okay, we have transportation service providers. Okay, we have people who manage our documentation for us and our clearance, etc. We have global freight forwarders. Okay, and I'm sure in the subsequent sessions, all these aspects will be touched upon in greater detail. But having said that, the simple point I'm trying to make is that we need to understand that as an ecosystem, we need to collaborate more, okay, communicate more. And increasingly, the trend is happening now, because one person obviously cannot do everything. okay, on his or her own. Okay, we need expertise, we need external help. So I think that ecosystem is growing. And talking more about logistics service providers, I think in the last 5 to 7, 8 years or 10 years, I have seen the growth, okay, real growth of lot of logistics technology startups, okay, and they are offering very tailor-made specific solutions, okay, to address your inbound transportation flow, to address warehouse operations, to address your last mile delivery, okay. So different companies I have seen enter into different contracts at various stages of their life cycle with different service providers. You don't have to go to an established player today. There are many boutique small logistics service providers and tech companies who are doing a fantastic job to manage your operations. Okay, so the idea is, like I told you earlier, I think we all need to keep in mind that we have to have a strategy to make sure that we interact with the right player who understands our pain point and our problem statement, and who's able to provide a tailor-made, customized, specific solution to address our problem. Okay, we need not jump to the solution. I think more time needs to be spent on focusing on the problem, and it applies to me as well. I'm still a student of logistics and supply chain. Okay, I keep learning as I do all these talks and sessions. But the idea is that yes, when I speak for all of us. I speak for myself as well. Okay, I'm not a separate person here. But the idea is that we need to make sure that we're able to connect all these dots. Okay, because today there are so many internal, external variables at play. Okay, everything around us is very uncertain, very complex, very volatile, and that is going to stay. We need to live with it. Okay, we can't say that variability will come to zero, accuracy will be 100%, customer service will be 100% all the time. Okay, each and every shipment and delivery package of mine is going to reach on time. No, no, no. We have to look at the practical aspects around it. And here is where I would also like to speak about the role of the dedicated freight corridors in our country. Now, that has been a mammoth transformational step as far as our country is concerned. Okay, and given our topography and complex geography, okay, in terms of moving materials, say from Bhiwandi in Western India to say Guwahati or Kolkata in far away in the east and northeast, it's still a challenge today. Okay, now what these corridors will do possibly is we'll try to reduce the lead time. We'll try to decongest. Okay, we'll make transportation operations more efficient. Okay, that is number one. Number two, I also want to touch upon the role of inland waterways and the role of railways. Of course, one of the expert speakers is going to talk about railway logistics in the subsequent sessions today as the day goes on. But I just want to tell you that pre-independence, the contribution of railways in freight movement was over 75 to 80%. That has today come down to just barely over 30%. And most of the materials that we move today are by road through surface transport, more than 65 to 67%. I'm not saying that's bad, but is that an option that we can live with in the future? Answer is no. Okay, because our cities are not going to get decongested anytime soon. We will have operational bottlenecks, we will have delays, we will have hartals, we will have some sort of traffic jam along the way. These things are going to continue. But the idea is that we need to understand and have this global perspective where we have to try to see what is going to be my optimal modal mix. Now, can I use inland waterways to connect two states? Okay, is a water body there which is lying which can be used okay seamlessly? Okay, can I increase the proportion of freight that can be transferred or moved through rail? It is possible, and increasingly today companies are doing it. They are trying to alter their modal mix without impacting their cost and customer service, because too much reliance on only one mode in the long term from a strategic perspective and a design perspective will have its own negative ramifications on your business. So increasingly I'm sure all these questions are constantly being thought of, grappled, discussed, debated, okay, and addressed. Okay, and now I want to throw your light on a few articles and snippets that I came across, and I thought that will be relevant to today's discussion, just to set the ball rolling. Number one, I came across this news yesterday in the Economic Times. Decathlon, which is a famous sports good company from France, it's a multinational. It has a big setup in India also. Okay, the company's name is Decathlon. So Decathlon launches 2-hour quick commerce service across top cities. Okay, they are starting from Bangalore now, and they want to deliver online orders in just 2 hours. Now, this is something that I'm unheard of. Okay, getting your footwear so quickly, you would rather go to a shop and buy your footwear. Now, imagine the implications for logistics design, for service, for transportation design, inventory management, replenishment, etc. Now, this is a very different business model. Okay, it's a global multinational, and they're going to invest big time in India, more than 600, $700 million actually over the next few years India is a big market for Decathlon, apart from Europe, of course. So Decathlon launches a 2-hour quick commerce service across top cities. So a lot of implications for logisticians, for the warehousing and transportation practice. Number two, one more interesting news item which I came across last month when I was compiling the news. Sustainable warehousing to drive India's green future. So increasingly now sustainability has become mainstream. So whether it is folks and the joining from Africa or Middle East or Europe or any other part of the globe, I think sustainability is no longer a bookish term. It is part of mainstream logistics management, mainstream warehousing and transportation management. It is being discussed increasingly. Okay. Third and interesting news which I saw recently, you just see how the logistics landscape in India is evolving. The first auto train reaches Kashmir. It is set to streamline vehicle supply. Now, Maruti Udyog Limited, instead of sending their vehicles by road, they covered a distance of more than 800 kilometers in less than 45 hours, and about 800 vehicles of different models were shipped through rail. Okay, purely through rail. It was a roll on, roll off sort of a model. And if this increases in the future, you can just imagine how it is going to positively impact their service, lower their logistic cost, transportation cost, okay, and how they are going to increase the use of rail. Because in winters how the road infrastructure is in that part of J&K, okay, most of the highways are closed, you have snowfall, okay, most vehicles have to wait, okay, right, endlessly. Now just imagine this auto train that has reached Kashmir, okay, and where it was very seamlessly unloaded, okay, and sent to the local dealers, okay, very smoothly. Actually, I think this is going to be the future now. Okay, people are going to use multimodal, intermodal, combination of different modes of transport. Okay, and my sense is I think it is going to be all about your ability to become more resilient, more flexible, okay, more responsive. Gone are the days when we focused only on pure efficiency and cost control. No, today I think we have to look at other levers as well, because we are all in the business of serving our customers, okay, upstream, midstream, downstream, and moving physical material, and storing them, and moving them in both directions. So I guess the focus will increasingly be on initiatives such as these, where we are able to use a combination of different modes of transport very efficiently, and cut down on lead time, and therefore cut down on cost, and make sure that so many models of all these inventories of different vehicles are made available to the dealer network in J&K. Now, this is a small example. Now, imagine if this is actually extrapolated and basically scaled up. Imagine now this can be a very classic case for other companies to use and adopt. This is a very classic example from the automotive sector. Okay. Now, one more interesting development in the GST space that I want to draw your attention to, another trend which I have seen. Earlier, I wasn't aware of this, but I came across this news item, which is related to the fact that separate GST registrations would be required for importers storing goods in warehouses located in other states. That means if you have got multiple warehouses in multiple states, okay, but you're receiving item in state A and moving it to then state B and state C, now it is imperative for the warehouse and distribution center in each of these states to also apply for GST registration. Earlier, I believe it used to be with only one central facility. Now, all these other facilities will also have to separately apply for GST registration. That is what this specific article tells us. Separate, quote unquote, separate GST registration required for importers storing goods in warehouses located in other states. So you may have a hub and spoke model, you may have a regional state level distribution model. Okay, maybe you have a very big central warehouse, but if you have other warehouses which are closer to the markets, then those warehouses need to be cognizant of the fact that they need to have a separate GST registration. Okay. Now, before I close in the next 5 to 10 minutes and leave it to the audience for any questions that they may have, I just want to touch upon some aspects related to my own experience on people management and skilling. Now, increasingly, all of you will be doing this. I have been a part of many projects that dealt with a lot of change management. Okay, and my sense is simple. Two senses that you will all agree on this. It starts with the last person on the floor, on the shop floor. Who is the person who is doing receiving? Who is putting away the item? Who is handling the order? Who is doing the inventory count? Those are the people who are impacted by any technological or any new system tool that is brought into a company or a firm, irrespective of the size and complexity, irrespective of the sector. Okay, I still try to do this. Okay, there is no shortcut to Gemba and to training people on the floor and trying to tell them what is going to change in your life from tomorrow after this implementation. Okay, how are you going to grow as a person, as a professional? How is life going to become easier for you, more efficient for you? So more than the presentations that start from the boardrooms and lot of slides lie in the regional offices and other areas, the real activity is happening on the floor of the warehouse or the distribution center, where daily receiving, importing, exporting, inventory counting, okay, inspection, okay, put away, etc. is happening. So okay, and I'm sure you all agree with this. I mean, there's no debating this. This is just a humble point that I wanted to reiterate and make again, is that the last person in the delivery chain downstream is the person who is going to be impacted most by any digital or any software or any tool based intervention, and therefore he needs to be kept at the center of every discussion. Which is why in some other forums I've also told, when we talk about sales and operations planning and sales and operations execution that I've been a part of over these years, generally you have manufacturing, you have commercial, you have operations, you have the demand and supply planners in the room with finance and HR. Where is the logistics team? Where is the warehouse head? Where is the transportation head? They should be a part of S&OP meetings as well and S&OE meetings as well, because they will be impacted by the throughput of inventory that is coming in and leaving their warehouse. At times they run out of space because something else has gone wrong somewhere. A wrong demand signal, a wrong supply, excess inventory, shortage of inventory will have an impact on space. They also need to plan. And therefore, when we talk about end-to-end supply chain planning and orchestration across the plan, source, make, deliver, return, enable scheme of things, the logistics team, the warehouse and transportation team should be a part of these meetings, because they should know in advance in the planning cycle what is going to come in, what is going to go out, so that he can do his resource planning, manpower planning, space planning, infrastructure planning, system planning. Okay, he can't do things out of thin air, and I have been a part of this throughout my life. I'm still grappling with this. Okay, as a consultant today, invariably in most industries, 20 to 25% of the sale will happen in the last 4 to 5 days. Now, this is something every industry is grappling with. Can we even it out? Can we put less pressure on our logistics and infrastructure team, okay, and our warehousing team in the last 3 4 days of the month? Heavy pressure on billing. Imagine the pressure on the resources, the team, the infrastructure, the vehicles, etc. Just imagine they are played 30th, 31st, oh, continuous billing. I respect it. Okay, sales has to grow, top line has to grow. We are here to support business. Okay, we are strategic contributors. We are no longer seen as a cost center. We are a profit center. I agree. But at the end of the day, please think that there has to be some sort of leveling of the load, whereby there is a consistent flow of orders, and in the last 3 to 4 days, the logistics team is able to handle operations smoothly. Okay, now this is again an open question, open debate to the audience. I'm sure you all have wonderful solutions for this, but the idea is increasingly I see this as a huge problem and pain point even today across sectors. Okay, I've worked and tried to help clients from different industries over these years, but the idea is that increasingly this becomes a topic. Sunil, first 15 20 days we do about 65 70 75%. The last 25 30% is typically channeled in the last 3 to 4 days. Now how do we address this? This is another area where we need to look at the whole equation holistically, okay, from a people, process, system, infrastructure standpoint. Okay, now coming to infrastructure, I just told you earlier that increasing focus on world-class warehousing, on grade A warehousing, okay, increasing focus on using world-class material handling equipment, processes, infrastructure, and needless to say, world-class TMSs and WMSs also, which integrate very well with your existing systems. And there is some level of intelligence, visibility, and transparency which is required today. Now, you may be a startup, you may be a mid-sized company, but I think in the age that we live in the hyper-competitive, hyper-personalized customer service age that we live in, I think without having a decision support system or a tool, I think supply chain and logistics organization teams are going to find it extremely difficult to survive in this market. Okay, because your competitors are already a step ahead. They have invested in these tools, and these tools are enablers always, of course. And if your process is badly designed, you can't blame the tool. If you don't have a proper inventory policy, you can't blame the tool. If you don't have adequately trained staff, you can't blame the tool. The tool at best is going to work on the intelligence that we feed into it, right? So whether it is an IoT or IIoT, or you're going to go for an RPA, okay, or you're going to go for robotics, etc., it all depends on the intelligent application, okay, of these tools. Okay, so having said that, I just want to close by saying that at the end of the day, no matter what we do or any of the global trends developments which I shared with you, I think it all starts with the fact that we need to collaborate and we need to understand that we can't do everything on our own. Okay? There are experts out there. We need to collaborate and work with them, and we need to spend more time on the problem statement. What is the operational issue we are trying to solve? Tools are available. I'm telling you again and again. Plethora of tools are available. Okay, including through SC, WMS, TMS, etc. Spend more time on focusing on the problem. Try to look at people, process, system, infrastructure aspects. What is special, political, economic, social, technological, legal, environmental. As logisticians, we are focus on the person who is doing the actual operating the truck or the driver. Now, India is talking about having AC cabins for all the truck benefits, etc. We leave the discussion to a different day. But our honorable transport minister has told all in weights and dimensions to have air-conditioned cabins, so that their life becomes easy. Imagine the life of, once again, like to close here. And my idea was order of the day, and I just hope that I could give you a broad flavor, okay, in terms of what Abdul ji
Yeah.
and Praveen from the Fru SC, wonderful audience here. So over to you with this.
Yeah. So thank you. Very, very insightful discussion.
I will close my talk, and thank you once again.
Yeah,
Thank
there
you.
are some questions popping up
Yeah.
because our team is the collecting some questions posted.
Sure.
Posted. So just I'll just take one by one.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So let me go. Uh, the question number one is, what is the advice for 3PL operators in India who would like to operate both warehousing and transportation together, especially how to close gaps in skills and technology? So, what is your advice?
I think there was a little
Voice break. Can I repeat? So, what is the advice? Can you hear me?
disturbance here in the audio. Could hear you, sir, but I think the network was a little patchy.
From my side, I think. Okay. Yeah.
May I kindly request you to repeat the question, sir? So could you please
Yeah. What is the advice for 3PL operators in
read the
India?
question again quickly, sir?
Yeah, yeah. The question is popped up. You can also see it. Mhm. Is it from my side? I don't know.
Oh, can I see it? There's some issue. I think I'm not able to see it. Messages from audience will display. I've opened the chat box. Is there any other
Yeah, I can. Yeah, can I read it? Can you hear me?
box that I need to open?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now, sir. Yes, can you please
Okay. So what is the advice for 3PL operators in India
repeat the question? Yeah.
who would like to operate both warehousing and transportation together, especially how to close gaps in skills and technology?
Focus both on warehousing
Transportation.
as well as transportation. Yeah, I think in PL and 5PL operations. So most 3PLs are actually more towards offering the whole bouquet of services. Okay, so just like Amazon is doing, it's more like your delivery, transportation, storage, etc. is entirely being managed by Amazon services. So absolutely going in for this strategy, and you can definitely that? Because I guess you will be able to rope in more clients. See, typically, strategically, they don't want to deal with multiple players. Now, if you can add that additional function, I think they'll be very happy. And intrinsically, if you ask me, when I have worked with 3PL services, okay, right from order inflow to stock take to inventory management, to that strategy can be thought about, and definitely when we think of warehousing to transportation to packaging to reverse logistics, why not manage the RTO also? And there are clients and customers of all sizes who are waiting for these services. So I'm think of, and it is possible today because increasingly I have seen a lot of startups and other companies, and I possibly spread out the horizon and the umbrella. So to my mind, definitely it is something which is practical and
Yeah, can you hear me, sir, now? Can you pop up
yes, sir, I can
the
hear you.
second?
I just switched off my camera.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, I can hear you. Please go on.
So, yeah. So in India, still multimodal logistics is not very popular. Can you explain how it will help to improve costs? How can the portals of government can help? This is a question one of the audience is asking.
Able to hear you.
Can you see the message on the screen?
So could you please repeat the question? Read on the chat.
Did you switch off video by any chance? Because we cannot see.
Because there is a why that is happening because my
Is it from Praveen? Is it from our side or from your side? Or
local this is fine. I think that maybe I'll take it up
okay. No problem. Yeah, no problem. Uh, are you able to hear us,
later
sir?
or offline here because
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll just try and yeah.
So it's a question about multimodal logistics. Okay, so how can multimodal logistics
Okay.
can help
Okay.
improve
Okay.
cost?
So today the simple point I was trying to make is if you have a very global, many companies today are not restricting themselves only to one mode of transport, different modes. That means now think of global players like or DHL, etc. No, today these are forwarders who are experts in multiple modes. Okay, so they can last mile. Now the idea is that suppose now, for example, now you work in the healthcare industry, where highly sensitive. You can't afford to go wrong.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay, there's a patient waiting for an organ. There's a patient waiting that you have to focus more on the cold logistics, which I didn't touch upon, of course, but I'm glad you brought this question. Okay, sub-zero temperatures. And where we are talking about vaccines, injectables, you are going to use a combination of road, air, and road. But there are companies who are trying to look at the focus should be on saving time. On saving back two more modes, is it going to increase my cost? No, we'll have to analyze. The idea is the cost versus service conundrum will always exist. But I gave you a classic example. Increasingly, you have to always focus on having a very reliable air transportation service, which is multimodal. So therefore, try to think practical use cases where there is a necessity, because there are delays, you're exceeding your planned lead time. That is when you will look at multimodal to offer excellent services, not only in one particular mode, but across, to discuss the scope and to see what is exactly going to be the impact on your cost and service. But again, the idea is it's a function of your volume of your throughput, okay, of your service lead times, of where your customer have a pilot. See, unless we try and burn our fingers, we'll never know. I have burnt my fingers. Yes, sir. Over to you. We have 5 minutes.
Perfect. So, yep. So there is one question. So about the technology, how AI and IoT technology can help warehousing and transportation companies. Okay. So what are the prerequisites for them to follow?
Yes. Now today are being used.
Yeah. How AI and IoT technology
Now
can.
to give you specific examples, so these applications are interspersed and embedded in today the way you used to do your route planning or load optimization, or the now increasingly if you go for any top class, top of the line, you will notice that there are embedded algorithms and intelligence. But what is happening at the back end is that there are intelligent systems which are taking into account. Today there are smart pricing engines. To give you an example, now today you want, I would say, freight forwarding companies and so many sea freight transporters. Now the thing is, today for a particular lane, say for example, you want to connect Asia, okay, from the port of discharge or port of loading to the port of delivery. What are the options that are available to you? What is the best? Today there are systems which are available which will help you to do the decision making. Is fed and variables are fed into these systems. These systems are capable to give you a. I'm not saying you follow the system output in
Excellent.
toto. The idea is we should. I can tell you all your decisions with regard to incoming, transportation planning, load planning, route planning, last mile distributions, okay, and visual intelligence, okay, and all these, okay, you need to discuss and see, okay, what is happening to that algorithm, how does it work, what is the logic, how do I interpret that output. I think that is a sort of discussion that we as business logisticians actually translated into business goals and benefits. So that is how I will look at it. What is your pain point today? It is our ability to see that what is the tool that will, okay, the technology vendor or the software vendor. Okay, so that will be my.
Great. So any more questions? We have a couple of more minutes. Uh, okay, it's about technology. Okay. So any final key takeaways, Sunilji? would you like to give like a top three key takeaways for logistics and warehousing companies or the practitioners? So,
Yeah, the
key
top
takeaways
three
from your side.
takeaways would be first,
So, can you
focus on the person
repeat?
who
Can you repeat? I think the voice got break. Yeah.
voice. Okay. So I'm saying okay, when it comes to loading, unloading, customer service, etc. And any tool cycle, there have to be lot of discussions and deliberations around this. Person in the chain has to be first trained, educated, and convinced. The shortcut today to communication and collaboration. We can't do it on our own. With a competitor or an external provider, the rest of it, if it has to be outsourced, please do it. There are plenty of experts out there with whom you can collaborate. Okay, so that you can focus more on your core. Certain parts of your logistics and warehouse operational streams.
Yeah. Sir, thank you very much, Sunilji. I really like your advice that you cannot do everything on your own and you cannot do it everything alone. So there are plenty of experts available in the market. You collaborate with them to make sure that you add value to the client. Thereby, you can grow your business. And I really like what you said. I think that's fantastic thing. With that, we conclude the session. We had some audio issue from your side, Sunilji. I'm not sure it is from my side. But I request all the participants share your questions to Sunilji. Okay, so you can share directly to Sunilji or share to our team. Uh, yeah,
Yes,
we'll
later on, sir.
coordinate.
I'll be very happy to
Yeah,
connect.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So we'll answer all the questions. We'll make sure that everything is your
This
answers get
knowledgeable audience. Thank you very much.
questions.
Thanks to Abdul ji, and thanks a lot to
Yeah. So thank you very much, Sunilji. We take a
Praveen
big
for
round of
coordinating.
applause.
I hope I said thank you.
Thank you, and have a good time. Take care. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Give a big round of applause to Mr. Sunilji for a very insightful lecture. I think we had a great session. So there was some technical issue. So post your questions. We make sure that your questions get answered. So with that.